Alabama and Western Kentucky, we're a couple of days away. Welcome to Cover Crimson. We're going to talk about what's going on right now and who is going to have the game that we're going to look back and go, okay, they did something. Our bold predictions, you know what I mean. I'm going to start with Jalen Milroe is going to win the Heisman. Is that too far out there? He was in the hunt last year. All that right here on Cover Crimson. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Let's get this thing going. There it is. I just threw it out there. Jalen Milroe will win the Heisman this year. I'm the first guy saying it.
I don't even know where we go from here. I thought, it's like the bands that wait until closer to the end to reveal like the songs that everybody's there to listen to. You come out with a Heisman talk right out of the gate, and now we kind of got to build off that. I don't know how we're going to do it, but I will say, finishing number 6 in the Heisman last year, teams have now had a full offseason to watch what he does well, what he doesn't do well, and how they can combat or limit what he does do well while exploiting what he, doesn't do well. So, it is he's going to have to have gotten better to continue to be in the conversation like he was last year. And I think you and I are both on the same page. He's probably going to do it. What does that mean for you as far as week 1, though? Like we're talking about bold predictions for Saturday. And I love that you brought up kind of a season-long prediction, because what kind of performance do you need to see from him against Western Kentucky where you can, start having that conversation and say, okay, is it one of those situations where he needs to throw for 250 yards and complete 90 plus, like a 13 to 16 for, 300 plus yards or something, 3 touchdowns in the first half, and then you get him out of there? Is that the kind of performance you need in week 1, game 1? Or, is it more of a, you're willing to, if it's 150 yards, but he only attempts 12 passes, like what have the numbers got to look like for you for Heisman type of look?
Well, I think he's going to score 3 touchdowns. I said that on the Cover Crimson message board. I look for 3 touchdowns. I mean, he was a touchdown machine last year, whether he runs or throws. But what I'm looking for is the mid-level pass game. He's got to have taken a big step in that area. His form on the short dropbacks. We know he can throw deep. He's got great accuracy. He throws an awesome deep ball. He's got the ability to run. He's definitely a leader. But I'm looking at that and I'm going, hey, there is where the Heisman Trophy is going to lie. Obviously, Alabama's got to win. He's going to have to take some big steps with this team. And the fact that maybe Alabama's not picked to win the national championship this year, people kind of have them as one of the last teams in, maybe hosting in the postseason or whatever. But I guess that's where I start, with his ability. The other thing is just staying healthy. I mean, you don't want to get even if you don't get knocked out of the game, you're going to get chipped up throughout the course of the season, but you don't want it to happen game 1. And then all of a sudden you're dealing with a knee, or you're dealing with a hip. I mean, remember the Kentucky game last year? He got smoked by that guy running, and then he wasn't really the same for a while after that. So you kind of want him to get through this healthy. But those are the 2 things for me. How about you?
Yeah, and another question I have for you, and really I would love the listeners' response as well, because it's fascinating when you look at 2018, 2017, Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa, right? You had, when Tua would come in at the end of games, they would get him in the game a little bit earlier. They wanted him to be prepared in case something happened to Jalen Hurts, because there had been some limitations with Hurts. That was, I think everybody saw that, but also the way that he plays, the fact that he kind of takes the punishment that he does as a runner. Jalen Milroe can do some similar things. He doesn't want to do it as much as Jalen Hurts did, but he's willing to do it, and he does do it. So when they brought Tua in at some of the end of these games, they would do it a little bit earlier than you probably typically would. And it wasn't like, Ty Simpson the last couple of years where he's coming in and he's turning around and handing the football off over and over and over. They, for at least a while, let him operate the offense as you normally would if he was out there and the game were still in doubt. Do you think they do some of that with Ty Simpson this year to maybe have him get him some more game reps? Because we talk about how impressive he's been pretty much all offseason, but what we don't really know is we saw the UT Chattanooga, we saw Kentucky, and we saw USF. Kind of a mixed bag as far as early. Later on, was tremendous improvement. Do we see him maybe get some actual live game reps in games like this to kind of help prepare him, maybe not just for next year, but also in case of an injury?
Dude, that is a great question. And before I answer that, I want to remind all of you guys that we're brought to you by mybookie.ag. Mybookie.ag. I can get it out of my mouth and do it without slurring that. Next round to get that double initial deposit. That's right, MyBookie. Double your initial deposit with the promo code next round. Kick off the football season with mybookie.ag and double your initial deposit using that promo code. I got my next round shirt on. I love this one, man. Those guys have hooked me up with some great gear. Doing the show with Mike Johnson, he's like, "Hey, where's my Cover Crimson shirt? Where's my next round?" I said, "Look, dude, if you sign up for the annual subscription at Cover Crimson, you get the T-shirt and go one size larger." I think.
Well, what is that for Mike Johnson? That's a big guy. He's lost a little bit of weight. He looks good, man. Compared to his playing days, I know he's lost a little weight, but he's a bigger guy. What is that for him? Like a 3X maybe? Are we gonna have to hook him up?
I don't know. I didn't ask. I told him I'm between large and extra large right now, and the shirt fits perfectly with that extra large. I mean, it's perfect. It shows off my cannons a little bit, but it's not too far up here. No, I'm just kidding. I love it. You guys and you guys gotta sign up so that you can hang out with Mike and I, because our show's going behind the paywall for subscribers only starting next week, and I want you to be there. Right? I want you to be there. Okay. So take advantage of that right now. $1, but if you get the annual, you get the T-shirt with it. And we appreciate you guys really more than we can tell you for being part of Cover Crimson. So you asked me a question. I'm going to answer that. And then I'm going to get to Jim's comment that he made. And you guys in the comment section, keep them coming. But I never liked that Nick Saban would bring in the backup quarterbacks and not really let them run the offense. I just felt like, and I know why. It's like, hey, I don't want to let the defense, I don't want to let the other team get back in it. We have a big lead. They might do something stupid or whatever. But we saw it with Tua, and I thought that got Tua ready for the end of that season, and it ended up helping Alabama win a national championship, because they don't win it without Tua, and the Tua comeback in that game against Georgia. I mean, he was the secret weapon, and we kept hearing about him in practice and what he was doing, and then we saw it on the football field. So I think that this is going to be a different philosophy, and I really would be surprised if Kalen DeBoer if Ty Simpson comes into a game like this or next week or whatever, let him actually operate the offense, because you're going to need him next year. You might need him this year. He's got to be ready, and those are great learning opportunities. Now, here's the question. Jim's coming at me. He's like, "Hey, could we stop the Heisman talk? Let's see if we can get out the ball consistently instead of getting sacked." He does stare downfield. Look, I agree with you, man. There's other stuff here, but we can't be afraid to talk about what good could possibly happen with our guys, right? I mean, I'm not saying I want him to come in and Milroe and kind of have this hey, I'm going to win the Heisman, but I hope he works hard for it.
I mean, and I'm right there with you. I don't see any harm in it. Somebody's got to carry this campaign, right? Why not? Why can't it be us, right? I mean, and he finished number 6 in the Heisman last year, and a lot of those guys ahead of him have graduated or they've moved on. So there's opportunities. And I will say, when I'm talking about potentially Ty Simpson coming in at the end of games and, getting him prepared, I don't think it's going to be a situation like it was with Jalen where, it was poor performance that led to Tua getting that opportunity in the second half of the national championship game. And I don't want anybody to confuse that. That is a possibility. I don't want to completely ignore that that's possible, but it's just more so of, he's going to be a guy who's probably going to run the football, handle some volume, take some punishment. And in this SEC schedule, now that the conference has been expanded, it's a very difficult schedule. That punishment week after week, You never know when he gets banged up a little bit. You never know when Ty Simpson has to maybe finish out a game and then Jalen is back the next week, or maybe Jalen gets knocked out for the next week and it's an entire game for Ty, or is something, a lot more serious that can happen at any moment. So you want your guy to be prepared. And I thought Nick Saban, the foresight that he had to have Tua prepared in 2017, we don't talk about that enough,
right?
Because he was to a point where he could come in and he felt comfortable operating the offense. He had worked with a lot of those guys because they would leave the other starters in. They'd take Jalen out, put Tua in, and maybe they would start working into their depth later in the games. But Tua got to see some series with the starters and just he was prepared for that moment, and that helped Alabama win a national championship. So with Jalen, what he does well that we know he does well, so few quarterbacks in college football or even the NFL can do that. And so if you get a quarterback developer like Kalen DeBoer, it's one of the big reasons he was brought in. He can develop quarterbacks. He can develop and have offenses that produce. If you can get the complementary stuff to where, you now add those elements to his game on the short to intermediate stuff, attacking the middle of the field, then I think he's going to be in really good shape. He's going to be really hard to stop.
Good to see Taylor Corn, part of the crew, says we get to watch some college football tonight. Clint, are you ready to watch college football tonight?
I'm always ready to watch college football. Yeah. And the fact that we get, SEC, obviously the opponents aren't that great, but it's college football. I'll watch anybody play anybody at this point, man. The other night, last Saturday, UNA was playing like Southeastern Missouri. I don't even remember who they were playing, but it was the fact that it was UNA, is college football. I watched that for like 45 minutes while I was waiting on another game to kick off, and I was thrilled doing it. So I'm just happy that it's back, brother. What about you? Are you happy and ready for some college football tonight?
Dude, I'm ready for it, man. I can't wait. I mean, it feels like it's gotten here fast because when I was telling you off the air, I got the tailgate show I got to air tomorrow, record tomorrow with Jay Coker. It airs on Saturday. But putting that together is a headache. So there's always this little bit of fear, like, hey, the first game's coming. Like I actually have a lot of work to do. But now that I'm getting that right here, the excitement's kind of coming like, oh man, we're going to have actually like a football game to talk about, doing the show with Mike Johnson, the All-American Report. We were just hammering that out. And he's like, hey, I'm going to have a lot to talk about when I watch this team on Monday. And I'm like, well, keep an eye on the Wilkin Formby, Elijah Pritchard situation at right tackle. I know we will, what the offensive line looks like, and all that stuff, all those big question marks and then how things operate. I'm a big believer in Jalen Milroe, and I think we all have to be, because if Alabama's going to have the season that we think they can have, and I don't know why we're not talking national championship, because that's what we do at Alabama. We play for national championships. For us to get there, it's going to take the offense to be really good. And I think that that's going to be our strength. As you guys hang out, please thumbs up. Give us a thumbs up. Great to see all you guys in the comment section as well. And he's right. Moonrock is right, man. He's one of the returning front runners for the Heisman, right? So it's more than just wishful thinking here. This is what Alabama football is. It's not being satisfied with just showing up. Sorry.
No, it is me interrupting you, but it's not. We're not starting Peyton Thorne's Heisman campaign today. We're starting Jalen Milroe's, and I think he's in a lot better of a position based off of previous work and what we're expecting as far as the growth. And I think Peyton Thorne's going to be a lot better too. But I'm saying, like, it's not like we're pulling this after like a terrible season. Jalen Milroe was a really good quarterback last year. He had his limitations, but we fully expect him to improve on those. What I wanted to do is hop on the Cover Crimson message board. I wanted to read some of the bold predictions that some of the subscribers have, and I want to get your take as far as maybe we can go on a like 1 to 5 scale on how bold it is, 5 being the most, 1 being the least. We'll start with Stacy Blackwood, obviously, works with us, but the first thing he said was that Alabama will have 2 players with at least 100 yards rushing in this game. On scale of 1 to 5, where you at on that?
Man, that's a lot of carries right there to get to 100 yards. I don't, that would be bold for me. I think if you got one guy at 100 yards, because what will happen is that Justice Haynes will get the 100. Jam Miller might have 100 yards combined. Maybe he has like a catch or a couple plays, but he's kind of in the black jersey here. I know he's practicing. Then you got Richard Young, and then who knows of the other crew who comes off. I think 200 yards, 100 each for two different running backs. To me, man, that would really solidify Alabama as a running team, and no one's expecting that.
I feel like that you can get maybe if it's kind of Justice Haynes' first game as kind of a 1A, 1B option. We think he's going to be the starter. It doesn't really matter. We expect pretty equal workloads, but with it being his first, I can see them, trying to get him enough action where he's able to get to that 100-yard mark, and they might have him kind of carry a little bit further into the game than you would think. But I think to get to two players having 100 yards rushing, you would need to get a couple of really big gains, whether it be, at the very least one guy having like a, 50+ yard touchdown. And that way, if he's down there, he would typically have, 45, 50 yards. If he rips off a 50-yarder, now he's sitting at 100. And then you got like a Justice Haynes maybe getting there. It might take explosive gains, really long runs from a couple of different guys for two guys to get there. But I certainly think it's possible. And I think it's bold. That's why I wanted to bring it up. We'll move on and we'll pull up some of these others. Bama 112 on the message board. He said that he thinks Alabama's tight ends will have at least 100 yards receiving. Now, obviously, that's not one particular player. There's a lot of contributors in that tight end room, and in this type of game, you could probably see up to 4 if you include Danny Lewis. Do you think that they collectively, as a room, get to 100 yards receiving?
Man, that's another one right there. And let me say this, guys.
They went bold. We asked for bold. They went bold.
We got to tell you this as you're going to gear up for your football games, whether you're going to Tuscaloosa for the game, you're going to see the team on the road, or you're just going to have people over to the house. You want to look good. As Alabama fans, we all want to look good. We want to show up and have that crimson swag, right? Take advantage of that right there. Room 20 gets you 20% off your first order at rowback.com. They got a whole collection of new Alabama gear, hoodies, which I actually have one of those, and then some really awesome polos. But find out for yourself and take advantage of that code. All right. With that said, Clint, no, I don't think it's going to happen.
Okay, and that's fair.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like it's so hard to say because I haven't seen this offense operate. But I just got a feeling that we're going to see a lot more with the wide receivers and a lot less with the tight ends. And I think at the beginning of the season, too, as you're trying to figure out protections and how this offensive line is going to work, you got to probably keep that tight end back to block a little bit more. And then once you kind of get going a little bit, maybe slides out some. But I don't think you go all out with that tight end spot until you're comfortable with the line blocking. Is that crazy to say?
Yeah, I would think so. Am I coming through all right?
Yeah, you're a little bit choppy right now.
Yeah, let me hang on. I'll be right back.
Yeah, you pound out, and I'll say this. All right, now with the talk of the tight end. Now, I'm not saying that I don't think that Dupree could not have a big game, but I do feel like when I look at this offense, I just kind of feel like if it's me, then you're probably going to want to link up with the wide receivers. And, and so I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at right now. Let's take some of your guys' comments here. David says Alabama will score at least 60 points. That would not surprise me just because of the fact that they might get a lot of opportunities with the football. I mean, Western Kentucky's going to throw it a lot. If there's 3 and outs, then you'll get the ball back and, and you'll have opportunities to do it. Is Saban going to be there? I don't know. But I will tell you guys this, and if you check out the All-American report with Mike Johnson, he was saying that he's going to be in town next week for the football game. They're honoring Nick Saban next week for the football game. So a lot of the players are coming back, and they want to be there to celebrate their head coach that is – they're naming the field after him, obviously. And so, he'll be there for that as well. And David, man, thank you for the super chat, brother. Thank you, man. We can't appreciate you guys enough. And whether it's super chats or joining covercrimson.com, take advantage of that annual rate and get the T-shirt with the annual rate. But man, thank you so much. Adam, one of my main guys here, he says, I think Milroe will have an extremely high completion percentage tomorrow, something like 22 of 25, 320 yards. Yeah, I mean, look, man, I just that's what I'm looking for in this Heisman chase, right? How far has Milroe come? Not just being a playmaker, and you guys know he's an explosive playmaker. I mean, Southern Red, you know that. He's a guy that can make a ton of plays. He can do it with his feet. He can do it with his arm. He's got the deep ball and all that stuff. But on top of that, it's the taking the game and then just start to tweak it a little bit. How's he tweaking the game? Is he getting better at the short range passes? Is he getting rid of the football faster? Is he reading faster? And I think that Kalen DeBoer and Nick Sheridan are going to do an excellent job of just making Milroe the player that he can be. I mean, and obviously he's got the talent to be. Let's go through some more of these comments. And I love hearing from all you guys as well. And I'm going to put you back up there, David. Thank you, man. The super chats go a long way as far as the channel's concerned. You know, when we teamed up to put this together, they asked me, they're like, who do you want to work with? And I got to be honest, I'm going to pull Clint back up here. I said, I want to work with Clint Lamb. I said, I want to work with Mike Johnson. And boom, you guys are here, right? And then obviously Jake Coker, we got teamed up, and it's been awesome working with Jake as well. So, all right, so you're back. All right, let's next bold prediction, my friend.
All right, I love this one. Dwayne Edgeworth on covercrimson.com, one of our subscribers. He's predicting that Jalen Milroe throws for 300 yards and he rushes for 2 touchdowns. Now, if that happens, it is possible that he's slinging the football around and, he's getting closer to the goal line and then he's punching it in with his legs. But more than likely, if he's throwing for 300 and he's rushing for 2 touchdowns, it is very possible that he's having success both with his arm and on the ground. You talk about Heisman campaigns, Mick, and getting one started off the right way. A couple of touchdowns on the ground, 300-plus yards through the year. Didn't mention anything about passing touchdowns or anything, but I think he just wanted to reflect both the passing and run game. What do you think about that? You think 300-plus and 2 rushing touchdowns is possible?
I think it is possible. I mean, I think those are the things that we look at with Jalen Milroe, and it separates him from so many other quarterbacks, is that he can do it from the running standpoint, and he can do it effectively. We saw that against LSU, but he can also throw the deep ball, and he's a winner. So, I mean, I think that that's clearly possible. And I just have this feeling that this new offense and Southern Red, I'm going to throw your thing up here right here. Sorry about that, Clint. She's like, what do you think about Ryan Williams in the first half? See, I think Ryan Williams is going to be one of the reasons why. I mean, all we keep hearing about is how Ryan Williams is a star in practice. I've heard it from I've heard it from people that I know that have been there. I've heard it from former players. And I just think that connection could be what separates Alabama and this offense and Jalen Milroe.
And the fact that he kind of has that vertical ability, he can win at all 3 levels, in my opinion, but just his elite vertical speed, I could see Jalen Milroe connecting on at least one long touchdown with Ron Williams. And I think if you want to get to that 300 mark, like we're talking about, Ron Williams would probably need to be, pretty involved in that. I'm not saying that he can't reach it any other way, but just you need to have some really explosive downfield plays, a 60-yard touchdown, maybe a 30-yard touchdown. You start stacking stuff like that, and now you're talking about, big numbers despite getting limited passing attempts. Because if Alabama's doing his job on both sides of the football, then he's not going to be in the game for obviously 4 quarters and maybe, maybe not even 3 quarters. We'll have to wait and see. But 300 yards is possible, but Ryan Williams is going to be a huge part of that. And this can be his coming out party, but I also want to keep in mind or let people know that, you might not see this being his coming out party. It might be week 3 against Wisconsin on the road. That would be a really good time to do it. It could be, week 4 against Georgia, even though I think right now, if he's going to be this absolute headache, there's 2 different approaches. You can want to catch a Wisconsin or a Georgia off guard with them not knowing fully what he's capable of.
Right.
But you also might want to put it on tape and let them know exactly what he's capable of and make them account for it. And now you're opening up opportunities for others. So that I don't know which approach they'll take, but if he's the player that we've been hearing about, my approach probably would be, hey, let's go ahead and get this hype train. It's already left the station. Let's go ahead and keep it rolling and get him involved early and often, and let everybody know that this is a wide receiver one in potential wide receiver one in college football with dynamic playmaking ability. And Jalen Milroe's got a really good chemistry with him, and he's able to create a lot of explosive plays downfield with the freshman receiver.
Yeah, here you go. And I'll put it back up there. 400 yards. Steven says 5 touchdowns. And here's another one. And this one, I think this is the most important comment that we've gotten so far. When is Clint going to pick up the guitar and play a tune for us?
Before we hopped on here, first of all, that's a bass, and that's my cousin's. He plays bass, he plays guitar. This is his setup. I'm in Gunnersville right now. He's Mr. Fix It with the electronics. My computer's having all kinds of trouble, so he's been working on it. But the first thing you said when you saw me is you're like, "Do you travel with your guitar?" And I'm like, I don't even really play that guitar. Like I bought
in your
it.
studio.
Yeah, I mean, I got it. I wanted to get a pretty nice one, and I did. I splurged, and then now it's just an accessory in the background. It could be literally a string, a guitar without strings, and nobody would notice. But yeah, I'm not very musically inclined. That's for sure.
Yeah. Hey, look, our buddy from Auburn's back again. Good to see you, Chris. He says it's Western Kentucky. He'll be taken out in the third quarter. Look, that's what you're hoping for. I mean, you know, when Nick Saban was head coach, there was almost like this part of him that liked to keep those guys in really late because he wanted to set the precedent that we're going to play 4 quarters against everybody. You know what I mean? And it's like, hey, I don't know if that's always the best use of time. But Nick Saban, the mental approach was so important to him.
Well, and that is such an incredible point that you bring that up, Mick, because that is something else that you have to balance when you're talking about, playing guys 4 quarters of football. It's hot. It's August right now. It's about to be September. You don't want week 4 against Georgia. It's still going to be hot at the end of September, right? And, Madison, Wisconsin, I don't really keep up with the weather up there. I'm guessing it's still going to be relatively hot. But, if they haven't played 4 quarters of football, both against Western Kentucky and USF, even if it's a hard-fought game in Wisconsin and it is 4 quarters, as far as combining that heat and 4 quarters of football, how much do you take that into account as far as the conditioning of your players and getting them used to the long, battle that is a football game, 4 quarters of football? I mean, how do you balance that? Because Nick Saban dealt with that a little bit too. And you saw sometimes guys are like, why are these guys still playing? It's the middle of the 4th quarter. They're up 47 points. And it's like Nick Saban's trying to get them conditioned for the long haul of the season.
Well, Mike Johnson said on the All-American report today, he was like, we got to the championship game and we were tired. And he was talking about how, practicing at night and, just this kind of thing. Lane Kiffin, when he left, he one of the things he did say that I thought was pretty good insight was that, Alabama's practices were so physical. They're beating up on each other. They're tired at the end of the season, and they're playing Clemson. They didn't play a schedule. Maybe you play 2 tough games and then, you're kind of you're fresh when those big games come. So interesting point there. Here's a great comment. Moonrock again with one of the best. It doesn't matter whose base it is, pick it up and play that funky music, white boy, which is a great song lyric.
And that would be quite the. If I knew how to play that though, I'd have no problem. I probably would be playing that thing when y'all didn't want me playing it anymore. I've always wanted saxophone for me too. Like some Careless Whisper, if I could rip some of that stuff, I'd be a big sax player as well, man. But I'm just not. I tried the guitar thing. I'm not musically inclined at all. I'll stick to football for now. I'll tell you what, if Alabama wins the national championship, I will bang terrible music. Not long. I'm not trying to get us to drop to 0 as far as viewers, but I will play 20 seconds of a guitar, and it's going to be really, really bad. But Alabama's going to win a national championship first. You ain't going to get me to pick up guitars, basses, or anything of the like until that happens.
Jim says the amount of design runs will tell you how confident they are in the other QBs. 100%, because I thought last year they missed an opportunity with not designing more run plays. I mean, he ran a lot because the offensive line missed blocks and maybe the running backs missed blocks or he held the football too long. But, but at the same time, that'll tell you a lot that they're confident. Guys, we got, as we kind of wrap the show up, give us your score predictions. I'm going to ask you, Clint, that, and I've seen some of you guys have thrown the score in there. I said, what did I say? 44-16. Is that what I said?
Is that what you said? I don't know.
I don't know. I got to go look on Cover Crimson real quick.
But I was thinking, like a 48-17 type of game. That would make probably the most sense to me. Now, granted, I could see Western Kentucky, with the offense they have, the fact Alabama's probably trying to work some kinks out as far as the new arrivals in the secondary. Maybe they can reach 20 plus points. I remember there, who was it last year? There was like a run where all the score predictions that we were doing on Bama Online was pretty much fans were saying there's no way that this team's going to score this many points, and it was like every week they were scoring exactly what we were kind of predicting, and it was through some fluky things. I know Kentucky was a part of that. I want to say UT Chattanooga was too, but I could be wrong. But you never know; they could reach 20 plus. I wouldn't be overly shocked by that. But I think if you get in the high teens, I think that's pretty respectable. But I think Alabama is going to be loading up the points, and so you got 42-13.
I went to Cover Crimson. Yeah, I felt like that's kind of where we're going to be. Although I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't score way more points than that. But
I would need to go back and see kind of how Kalen DeBoer handled. Nick Saban was always. I know for a fact there were times against certain teams where he's essentially like, when I say call the dogs off, he's like, he's not wanting penalties to be thrown on the other team. Like, or if we score a touchdown, hey, if we rip off another 80-yard touchdown, throw a flag and call BS holding. It ain't going to bother us.
Right.
I'm not. That's really, really extreme. But my point is he would have been completely fine with that. When he wanted to call the dogs off, it was done. I don't know how Kalen DeBoer handles that. Is he willing to run it up a little bit, or is he more of a, the Nick Saban approach? And you might not have an answer to that either, but I feel like that's pretty important in these types of games because the opportunity's there, whether it happens or not, it remains to be seen.
Yeah, here's Stacy's. He posted under me. I'm going to throw his up there. If I can get it up. Yeah, here we go. He's got 45-14.
So we're right, all right there in the same range. And that makes sense. You are going to, typically be pretty similar. 62-10. Okay. And I will say, we might look very foolish for predicting in the 40s. At least I didn't go 42 like you. That's low 40s. I at least went high 40s. But I will say I could see this offense. Just want to make a statement. And you got a bunch of playmakers. You got and this is the other thing. And we probably need to bring this up more too. It could be the 50s. And why do I say that? If we're talking about Ty Simpson coming in and operating the offense as it normally would, they're going to continue to sling the football around, get him some work, and that could lead to a couple of more touchdowns that maybe you typically wouldn't score if you were just turning around and handing the football off. So maybe they can cause a low 40s score to climb up into the mid 50s, or something like that. So anybody predicting in the 50s, 60s is like, that would be 62-10. That would be quite the first game for Kalen DeBoer, even though it's, the opponent. People will say you can't take anything away from that. Scoring 60 points on anybody is an impressive feat. And I think it would kind of be a signal for what was coming as far as the offense. But I also don't want anybody to be concerned with, if they score in the low 40s or the mid 40s. It's all about how it looks.
Yep, that's it, man. Well, look, I'm excited. Any final thoughts? And I know tomorrow you and Chris are going to do your what do you call it? Give them the breakdown here. I don't want to mess this up.
College football picks. Yeah, it's just going to be a pick 'em show. Yeah, we're going to throw up some of this weekend's games. We're going to have fun with it. I know you're going to be a part of it next week. Yeah. But I mean, I know right now, I don't think people realize this first week of the season, just you're trying to get like how you operate, what's everybody's responsibilities. Everybody's got a million things, and you do so much to provide fans with just content nonstop, multiple channels. You're on the message boards. So you got a lot going on. So Chris and I are going to handle it tomorrow, but you're going to be back next week. But I will say this, we're going to hold you responsible with the record. So we're expecting picks, and we're going to read them live tomorrow. Everybody's going to know where Mick stands going into the weekend. And probably at least one of us, maybe all of us, who knows, we might have to eat some humble pie on Monday, but I thought it'd be fun to do that. Others are welcome to join at covercrimson.com. We're going to be posting that We're going to post a list of games. Go in there, make your picks. It's going to be against the spread. We ain't doing this easy stuff. We're going to make it tough, and we're going to see who comes out on top at the end. And there is going to be something special for whoever ends up winning that non-staff member, even though I highly doubt that any of the staff's going to be sitting at the top anyways, because one thing I've learned is picking football, spreads compared to, knowing the game, analyzing the game, predictions, all that is just a much different beast. But anybody who ends up popping over there, you end up getting the most right at the end of this season. We're going to have quite the prize for you. So stand by for that.
Steven, the call-in show will be right here this year. So let me give you a kind of a breakdown of what I'm doing tomorrow. Jake Coker and I will be at Galette's on the Strip from like 1 to 3, somewhere in that neighborhood, to record the tailgate show. And you guys know we record it Friday and then it airs on radio Saturday. But Clint, I'm expecting you to make an appearance, Clint. Coker, my Cover Crimson partner, elephant in the room. It's going to be fun. Big Sexy Elmo will be on. You know him, Brett Elmore. We got Tom Abraham. We got a bunch of people that are going to be on. And Lance Taylor's going to be on from the next round too. So it'll be a good crew. And if you're in town, swing by and say hi to us. Come over there and grab a coldie and let's talk some Alabama football. And then Saturday after the game, the most anticipated post-game show is going to be right here on Cover Crimson. Clint will pop on. We'll just kind of bring in a bunch of the different people that we have to kind of get their comments, but we'll take calls. You guys will be on there as well. I'm really excited about it. One of the reasons that I really wanted to do this was because I love not only talking to you guys post-game, but also talking to guys like Clint and the Mike Johnsons of the world, the Lance Taylors. And so, be a lot of fun. Chris, in the comment section, Auburn, Chris, make sure you give us the Auburn score prediction, just because you're actually pretty cool so far, Auburn fan. And I can't say that about all of your people, but anyway, any final thoughts, Clint?
No, just it's going to be a fun weekend. It really is. It gets started tonight. It's Thursday night, starts the weekend this week. There's going to be some games, and it's going to carry into Labor Day weekend, Sunday night game, Monday night game. So it's not like it's going to end. I can't wait. I'm excited to see what Alabama puts on the field as far as just offense, defense. How does it look under Kalen DeBoer? How does it look under Kane Womack? We're very blessed to be able to do what we do, and we're very passionate about what we do. So we appreciate everybody who's been involved in this. Like this video, share it wherever you can. Definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel and get over to covercrimson.com and subscribe. Get involved in that message board. It's about to be a blast. We're going to have a game day thread. I'm going to be sharing all of my thoughts over there throughout the game. If it's panic mode, if it's good, whatever, I'll be sharing it. So go subscribe now.
All right, guys. Yeah, do it for $1. And if you do the annual subscription, then you get the Cover Crimson t-shirt too for being a part of it. And we're also presented by mybookie.ag. Yeah, use the promo code next round, just like my shirt, to get double your initial deposit. That's right. MyBookie will double your initial deposit when you use the promo code next round. Kick off the season with mybookie.ag and double your initial deposit using the promo code next round. For Clint Lamb, I'm Mick Gillispie, our entire crew. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. And we will talk to you again tomorrow. Actually, be on tonight. Look for the All-American Report on the channel and a bunch of other really cool stuff. And then I will see you guys Sunday night after the game. Roll Tide.